Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Disturbia Hope from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it says, Am I the arsehole for refusing to repay my ex-husband for the college tuition he paid for years ago? So, for some background, my ex-husband and I ended things over 20 years ago. When our son was 2, he stepped out. At the time, I was a stay-at-home mum and going to nursing school full-time. He was paying for my schooling. After he left, I asked him if he would keep paying for my school so I could finish with no debt. He agreed, saying it was the least he could do. A few months after that, he got his affair partner pregnant. Once she got pregnant, she demanded he stop paying for my schooling. It was 1/5 of their income, and she said that money needed to go towards their new baby. He refused and kept paying for the remaining year and a half I had left. Over the years, I continued my education, and now I'm a nurse practitioner. I do well for myself and never remarried. On to the problem. My son called me and told me he and his wife are expecting. I was ecstatic. I asked if I could come over sometime during the weekend and give them some things. His favorite stuffy as a child, a check, and some other small sentimental things. He said yes, so I went over earlier today. I came by and gave him everything, including a check for a few $1,000s. For baby stuff, co-pays, their nursery, or anything else they may want. My son and his wife thanked me and told me the money would be very helpful. My ex-husband and his wife came over, and a little while later, they surprised them with dinner and didn't know I'd be there, and saw the check on the counter. My ex's wife asked about it and I said, oh well, I wanted to help out where I could. Everything's so expensive nowadays. I was really just trying to be polite, but I don't think this is any of her business. This woman had the audacity to say, well, maybe since you have all this money now, you can finally pay us back all that money you took when you went to college. I was dumbfounded. My ex has literally never brought up me paying him back. He always said it was the least he could do for both me and our son. My ex has done very well for himself in his career. I didn't see how or why they'd need the money, so I asked them, do you guys need the money or something? My ex said no, and she said, of course not, it's about principle. I told her I will absolutely not be paying them back for college tuition from over 20 years ago, especially when she ended up in our marital home while I was living in a small apartment barely making ends meet for years after I initially finished school. I've never been bitter or mean. I've always been civil since our kids are siblings, but my blood was boiling. I left shortly after that. According to my son, this has been a point of contention in their marriage. She's brought it up a few times over the years in front of him, and she's insisting to him that he needs to convince me to finally pay back what they're owed. The biggest issue is now that the whole damn family is involved. I got calls from 3 separate family members saying I need to get over myself and just pay it back. So, am I the arsehole here? My word, she's been holding on to this for over 20 years. The absolute audacity to bring it up as well. Basically, this is not about principle like she's saying, it's more about jealousy. And let's face it, your ex said this was the least he could do after what sounds like he had an affair. It simply wasn't alone, it was part of his parental responsibility to ensure the mum of his child could provide a stable future. And I really like the way that Opie responded to it, that, reminding her of how she struggled when he left her and she got to move into your marital home. Basically, like I said before, it just screams jealousy rather than principle. She doesn't like you because you was his past. Survival Hut says, tell her it was the adultery tax, or that her husband was ensuring that his son would have a good life with either parent, not the arsehole. Opie said, this is exactly what my ex said. He wanted to make sure we both could afford things for our son. It was a good investment for him because we went half on basically every activity he was in. His first car and his college tuition. We definitely couldn't have done that if I only had a high school education. Articulate Try says, so reiterate that to her. Okay, I'll pay the student loans back and we can recalculate all the child support, car, uni fees, etc. As though I was never educated. So I would pay you back about $30,000 and in return you'd be up for, let's see, 10k a year for 13 years, plus half a car, 20k, plus half the tuition, 60k, plus health insurance at 1k a year. Times 17, let's call it 20k, so let's call it even at about 230k. Sound good? I'll take my 30k off the balance and you can just pay me 200k, and we'll call it even. And when the Balks say your husband wanted your son to be raised well, with a fair and safe house. If I had not graduated, this is what it would have cost your husband. He's business-minded and made wise financial decisions for himself as well as his son. Without paying for my fees, it would have cost him significantly more, for significantly longer, and his son's life would have significantly more struggled. How he stayed married to you all this time is the true mystery. What did you say your qualification is in? Because surely you can math this too. And walk away. Just there says, oh, how he stayed married is no mystery. In my honest opinion, they are both most likely ignoring each other's affairs while trying to pretend everyone that him committing adultery and leaving his first wife resulted in a lasting marriage, and so therefore it must have been worth it and the right choice. If they cheat with you, they will always cheat on you. People who cheat stay with other cheaters to prove a point, that they did the right thing and were always right to be together. But they very, very rarely manage to stay faithful to the person they cheated with on the first place. So OP did update the post and they said, so I first want to clarify some things. Yes, it was our marital home. We bought it after getting married. I didn't fight so hard for it in the divorce for a few reasons. Mostly that she was borderline harassing me about how they needed the house for their growing family. I also didn't want to deal with a longer and more drawn out divorce, and it would have been if I fought for the house. Yes, he bought me out of the house, however, it really wasn't much as it was late 2007. Most of it went towards my credit card debt anyway. Another thing, when he was paying for my schooling, we were still legally married. The divorce didn't finalize until after I graduated. There was no child support until after I graduated. There was never any alimony. I did live in the house while I was in school and they lived in an apartment. He paid all those bills including hers after she got pregnant, so his finances were tight at the time. The family that called weren't my relatives. They were my ex's and his wife's relatives. I thought they were family. They've since been blocked. On to the update. I got off work yesterday to find a few missed calls from my son. When I called him back, he tells me that his stepmom has now asked for the money from the check since it was almost the same amount that they spent on my college. She said it was obvious I'd never pay my debts and that I would just give him, my son, more money anyways. I'm stunned. I'm pissed. I don't know what has possessed her to think to ask my son for money intended for his family. I tell my son to ignore her and I handle it. So next I call my ex. It goes straight to voicemail. I try again and a few minutes later it's the same thing. So I reluctantly call my ex's wife, and she answers immediately. I tell her the three of us, my ex, her and me, need to meet first thing in the morning to discuss the debt. I'm thinking this needs to happen in person with all three of us so there's no confusion. She agrees. This morning we met at a coffee shop near my ex's work. As soon as they sit down I say, so ex's wife, want to tell me why you think it's appropriate to ask my son for money. My ex looks at her and says, you asked our son for money? She starts on about how she was only asking for the money they're owed, and she didn't ask for more than was on the check. Then she says, for years we struggled due to paying for your school. For years we couldn't afford a new car, a new house, or a nanny. My kids had to share a room. She goes on about her struggles. I started to tune her out because I keep thinking there's no way she's this deluded. It may have been inappropriate, but I laughed. I literally took out thousands in credit card debt to keep me and my son afloat, while my at the time husband was shacking up with her and paying her bills. My ex looks at her and says, what the hell? Ex-wife's name. I added, it's laughable that you think you're owed anything from while you were a mistress. We were married when he paid for my schooling. It's quite literally none of your business how he chose to spend money. You had zero entitlement to his money until you said, I do, and from what I recall, that wasn't until years after the divorce was even finalized. Do not contact me or my son about this money again. You will never see a dime from me. She rolls her eyes and gets up to leave. My ex tells her he's going to stay for a minute. After she's gone, he asks why I didn't just call him and tell him about what was going on. Said he would have handled it and that it didn't have to go this far. I say I did call him. Twice actually, and this is how we figured out she blocked my number from his phone. So those of you who said she's just very insecure, you are absolutely correct. I tell him that she involved his sister, cousin, and his sister-in-law, that I got several calls and texts from them telling me I should just pay back my debt, finally. I tell him that she involved the family and then asked our son for money intended for his baby. She crossed too many lines. He apologized and says he'll make sure she doesn't bother me about it again. We both leave after that. My son told me he blocked her number and doesn't want her at his house until she apologizes. That's pretty much it for now. And I really hope that is the end for that confrontation for OP's sake, but I don't think it's going to be. Usually when we see people like this who's showing that level of entitlement and manipulation, I mean, she's blocked your number on your ex's phone. They're not just going to back down after that one confrontation. They're going to sit and stew, probably complain to anyone that'll listen, trying to make herself the victim in this, and probably tell those people all kinds of bullshit stories about why they're owed that money. The fact that she went behind your husband's back in this to ask your son for that money in itself just shows that, she's got no boundaries, no shame. And I guess the one tiny good thing to come out of this, I think it's a good thing, is that the ex saw a slither of her behavior. Maybe he already knows about it and, he's just not doing anything about it. But I think OP just handled this with class, really. But Dizzy Dumpling says, wow, your ex-wife needs a reality check. Maybe she should start a GoFundMe for her struggles instead of asking money from your son. OP says, what's weird about this is that my ex makes significantly more than I do. They're anything but struggling financially. Kayla says, this isn't over yet. Gear up, girl. The crazy is about to be dialed up to 100. OP says, God, I hope not. Derailed says, I hope for your sake it's over, but I would be looking at getting a restraining order. Keep any evidence of harassment going forward. If things get out of hand or escalate, then you can take action immediately. If the relationship goes further south or divorce happens, then she will 100% blame you. She will say you broke their family up. Yes, I'm aware of the irony. With someone like this, it's better to be prepared to protect yourself because you never know how crazy they will go. Absolutely. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Am I Overreacting subreddit from OKJelly6298, and it says, Am I overreacting for threatening to take my sister to court after a toddler destroyed my $2,000 gaming setup because she said I should have baby-proofed my apartment? Hi Reddit, I'm female 25, and I'm honestly at my breaking point with this one. I need outside perspectives because my entire family is acting like I'm Hitler for standing my ground. So, I'm 25 female, I'm a student software developer and a pretty serious PC gamer in my free time. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment that I've spent years making cozy and functional. I've saved up for a long time to build my dream PC setup. Triple monitors, custom mechanical keyboard, ergonomic chair, the works. Altogether, my rig is worth a bit over $2,000, and I take care of it like it's a damn child. Last weekend, my older sister, 30 female, asked if she could crash at my place for one night because her apartment was being fumigated and her husband was out of town. She has a 3-year-old son, Max, who's, let's say, spirited. I love him, but he's a little chaos goblin. I hesitated, but she swore she'd keep an eye on him and that it'd be just for one night. They show up Saturday afternoon, and immediately it's clear she wasn't kidding about Max being a handful. Within 10 minutes of arriving, he'd pulled 4 books off my shelf, thrown my houseplants on the floor, and spilled juice on my area rug. I tried to stay chill. He's 3, I get it, but I asked my sister politely to please keep him out of my office where my PC setup is. She rolls her eyes and goes, he's just exploring. He's curious, it's normal. But she closes the office door anyway. Cut to Sunday morning, I wake up to screaming. Max had apparently woken up before his mum, managed to open the office door, and decided my setup was his new jungle gym. He pulled down one of my monitors, cracking the screen. He stuck crackers into the PC tower's ventilation slots. I'm not kidding. He yanked out my keyboard's keycaps and had colored on my chair with permanent marker. The cherry on top, he poured apple juice into the tower. Into it. When I tell you I went silent, I mean, dead silent. My sister comes in, sees the damage, and just says, "Ooh, no," in this incredibly flat tone, like someone knocked over a cup of coffee. I started freaking out. She had the audacity to say, "You should have baby-proofed the room if it was that important to you." I lost it. I told her that 1, she knew he wasn't supposed to be in there. 2, this is my space, not a damn daycare. And 3, baby-proofing a $2,000 gaming setup is not a standard requirement for adults living alone. She told me to calm down and said that he's just a kid and this stuff is replaceable. I told her she could replace it then. She said she didn't have the money right now, but maybe in a few months she could give me a few hundred. I told her that wasn't acceptable and that she needed to take full responsibility. She left in a huff, and now my whole family is blowing up my phone. My mum says I'm being materialistic and should understand that my nephew didn't mean it. My dad said I should have locked the door if it was that important. My brother actually said, "Why do you need even 3 monitors anyway? That's kind of overkill." I filed a claim with my insurance, but there's no guarantee it'd be covered since it was technically guest damage. I also told her that if she does not pay up, I'll take her to court for what happened. Now I'm getting texts from my sister demanding an apology for blaming her kid for being curious. I told her I'd drop it if she covered the cost of repairs and replacements, or at least met me halfway. And she blocked me. So, am I overreacting if I take my sister to court over this? Opie came back into the post 4 hours later and says 4 hours later I wake up from my nap to this. Thank you guys. It'd take a bit for me to read all of this. My sister has still not unblocked me, but her husband reached out to find out what happened. I'm sorry I didn't have more to tell yet, but I'll update again when I do. Seriously, thanks for the insights everyone. My head is a lot clearer now. 8 hours later, Opie says again, "Hey all, my sister's husband reached out as mentioned earlier, and we're working out a solution if possible. He's been really understanding, as have all of you. Also to clarify the office situation, my 1-bedroom apartment is on the smaller side. So the landlord converted an old ex-clothes cabinet into a makeshift office. It's weird, but the building is from the 40s and they had to get creative with the space with an old tenant or something. So it's living room. Sister and her kids slept there plus kitchen, I slept there plus the office. Thanks for all the support and the awards. I really didn't have the words for how nice people have been in both DMs and in the comments." That is all just incredibly frustrating. You know, this has nothing to do with being materialistic. It's all about basic accountability. Her kid fucked everything up. She needs to fix it. If I was in your sister's position, I'd be absolutely mortified. And even if I couldn't pay for that amount of stuff right away, I would certainly be coming up with a plan to help fix the fuck up that my Chaos Goblin, great term by the way, caused. And the whole family not seeing this as well. I just like, what are they thinking? It's just all deflection. Like, you don't need 3 monitors. It's not the fucking point. Oh, I'm getting heated. I'm picturing my PC. I'm really hoping that the husband in this one sees sense though and is going to come up with some sort of decent solution. But in the comments, after someone suggested to OP to go no contact, OP says, "I'm not ready to go full no contact right now, but I really appreciate your perspective. It's definitely something I keep in mind if things keep escalating and no one starts showing even a little respect for my boundaries. I just want accountability, not drama. But if they keep pushing, I won't hesitate to step back. I don't think I want to know my family if they can't appreciate the work I put into my hobbies." As a bit of an update, my sister's husband actually reached out to me privately earlier and said he wants to figure something out. He didn't know the full extent of what happened. He suspected my sister lied to him and he seemed genuinely sorry. That gives me a little hope. Part of what made this so frustrating is that I work as a janitor, part-time too, and don't make a lot. I saved for years to build that setup and it's not even a year old yet. Seeing it treated like it's no big deal by my family members who know how much I struggle has been honestly disheartening. Your advice about collecting evidence and presenting it calmly is something I'll definitely do. Just knowing I have a game plan and options helps a lot. Thank you. 1. The office is a converted clothes closet. The apartment is from the 40s and has a weird layout. There's no lock on the door. The door is just a heavy old one. To be honest, I've been wondering if my sister might have opened it for him. I just don't get why. 2. The crackers and juice weren't mine. Sister brought them. I had no idea he had access to them during the night until after the fact. 3. I didn't get much notice. I saw a message around 10 AM Saturday and they arrived around 2 PM. My place was a mess, so I spent most of that time cleaning before they came by. In hindsight, yeah, I should have been more cautious with my setup, but it didn't even cross my mind that anything like that would happen, as I thought the office area was inaccessible to him. What he did pull off of the shelves was moved higher up and out of reach, and in an area where he could be kept an eye on. Somebody said to OP that she should have put her setup away before they came over as part of cleaning. OP replied saying, "Are you my sister? You're really sounding like my sister. Unblock me if you are, but just in case, I'm not talking about tidying up. As in a few cans of this and that. My apartment was a mess. I don't live in a clinically ready space that can just be handed to a relative and a toddler on short notice. That's 4 hours including making breakfast, cleaning, doom scrolling, and bringing out the trash. I don't understand this comment. Is it just because I'm a janitor and should be quicker or something?" So it was roughly a week later that OP updated their post and said, "Hey again, just wanted to post a quick update since it's been a little under a week." And a few people asked what happened next. Things are better. Pretty fucking weird and still ongoing, but here's where we're at. Last Saturday, my brother-in-law came over to check out the damage himself. He actually brought Max, toddler, with him, which I was almost livid about at first, but he had a reason. He asked Max to try opening the office/closet door. The kid couldn't do it. The door was too heavy for him. You can probably see where this is going. Brother-in-law offered to take my PC to the store that originally built it for me, just to see what was fixable. I agreed but asked for something in writing so I had some peace of mind. We put together a little agreement that he'd be responsible for it while it was with him. Yeah, it was just a formality and would not hold much merit anywhere, but it helped me feel a bit more in control. On Monday, he dropped it off at the shop and gave them my number so they could keep me updated. He also told me he confronted my sister about how things played out. I sent him my original Reddit post too. He read the comments and apparently showed them to her. She still hasn't unblocked me, and from what I've heard was not happy about the fact brother-in-law is actually listening to me. I also shared the post and some comments with my parents and brothers since no one really believed me before. My parents still don't fully get it, but they've at least stopped pushing back. My brother is more understanding now, though for some reason he mostly wanted to talk about how many people saw the post. I don't think either of those three still care, really, and I'm fine if they see this. Do better. Anyway, I went to see the PC today, Wednesday here. The shop said it's mostly salvageable. It needs a very careful internal clean and a few fans replaced and some wiring fixed, but overall the main part survived somehow. Brother-in-law told me he'd cover the cost of the repair. No hesitation. When I brought up what my sister said about not being able to pay even $200, he said she's lying. He also said he's not sure Max actually did all the damage. He thinks the door was left open on purpose or that my sister might have even done some of it herself. Based on the height of the tower and where the crackers ended up, it didn't quite add up a toddler acting alone. Apparently she's been telling him I have a gambling addiction. I did get a bit hooked on Genshin like 4 years ago, I guess, and that maybe this whole thing will wake me up, which is new. She used to be supportive or at least indifferent. No idea where that switch came from. So yeah, that's where we're at. My PC is being cleaned up and fixed and brother-in-law is covering the cost. Sister-in-law still has me blocked and won't talk to me. Still tempted to start something with her, to be honest, especially if she actually did all of this on purpose. Still not ruling out small claims court depending on how things go. Thanks again to everyone who responded to the original post. Seeing how many people understood what happened really helped me hold the line with my family when I felt like I was losing my mind. One thing I've been turning over in my head lately is what if my sister did do something to my setup on purpose? I don't want to believe that. It feels like a stretch, but the more I think about it, the less so, I guess. But then I remember how she acted when I asked her to keep Max out of my office. The eye roll and the "he's just curious" comments, like she didn't take any of it seriously. And now hearing from my brother-in-law that she'd been saying I have a crippling gambling, gaming, whatever addiction and needed to grow up. It's just weird. She used to be cool about it, never super into games herself, but she got that it was important to me. If something changed, I don't know when or why, and if this was some weird way to make a point or teach me a lesson. That's messed up. You're not our mum. How about talking first instead of this? I don't want to jump to conclusions, but the more I think about it, the less it makes sense that Max could have done all of that alone. It's sick if she blamed her own son for it. So yeah, not accusing anyone outright, but that thought is there now. And if you're my sister reading this, which I'm guessing you are, because I bet you'd love to look at the comments that are on your side a lot. I don't know why you blocked me. I don't know what shifted in your head about all of this, but if you actually had anything to do with it, with damaging my setup, whether it was on purpose or just through complete carelessness, fuck you. You know I worked hard for that. You know what that rig meant to me, and you know I would never do something like this to your stuff. And if Max really did all of it on his own, I hope you're paying closer attention now, not for my sake but for his. Read the comments on my first post again, from other parents and people with younger siblings who clearly know better than you. That's all. Thanks for reading those who did. People were suspicious of brother-in-law in the comments and saying he probably knows more than he lets on, and his wife did more on other fronts and knows what she's capable of, and Opie replies saying, to be honest, it sucks to admit, but I think you're spot on. Brother-in-law is a very calm and happy person, but he seemed more resigned than anything when we met last weekend, and I don't know. I get asking about it might not be my place, but I'm worried. Opie also says my chair is okay, the cushion, legs and back are stained with red permanent marker, but I've learned to live with it. Co-workers and I are trying to find a chemical to fix the situation on the cushions, but an ethanol solution, small amounts, I don't want to ruin the chair further, has slowly been working at cleaning the other parts. Being a janitor does have its perks. Keyboard, I could not find all of the keycaps that were pulled off. I replaced the missing ones with an old keyboard's ones, both mechanical, so it's a bit awkward but it works for now. I might get custom ones for it if I find some that fits. The cracked monitor on the other hand needs to be replaced. I guess calling it cracked was kindness in itself. Still, got the other two left and at least it wasn't the most expensive one. But yeah. Someone was curious about what OP told the family for them to defend her, and OP says, my sister was talking incredible smack about me to them, making it seem like I screamed at her over a minor mistake. OP also says, I'll admit during COVID I did spend $300 on Ganyu when she came out, but that was the worst of it, and it was so worth it. I don't play much anymore, mostly stuck on Marvel's Rivals right now, but the overall margin from Genshin release to this day, I spent under $600. I get it, even that it might look crazy to people who don't play video games, but sheesh, gambling addiction, bruh. She should be more concerned of what I spend on Pokemon packs in this economy, if she's going to be concerned over something. We are waiting to see if my sister confesses to anything. If so, she'll be paying out of her own pocket, and paying back, not my brother-in-law. If she confesses and refuses, then, well, and then some emojis which I'm guessing is suggesting court. The computer is essential, but the keyboard works and I still have two monitors. That's why I'm willing to wait for the other damage to be solved. And it's just like with all of these situations, it doesn't matter what the item is. If you broke it, you replace it. And the whole blasé attitude at the start of, he's just a kid or you're being materialistic after they just fucked up your PC is just wild to me. What a weird response, and it just screams jealousy from your sister in this one. And I gotta admit, I did have my suspicions at the start, whether in the first part of the post, whether sister had something to do with it. And I know toddlers can be absolute whirlwinds if they want to, but the amount of damage with mum not noticing as well, getting into the room and causing all that chaos. And then with the attitude after, I thought, yeah, it's all a bit sus, isn't it? But what do you guys make of this situation? Would you be able to take a family member to court over this if they didn't pay up? Have you done so in the past? Don't forget to let us know at r/MarkNarrations, our very own subreddit, where you can share your very own stories. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.